in 2 weeks' time, if you're not sure, again, you're welcome to come in here. We'll find you a spot which will be isolated with the proper internet if you want.
Yeah.
We are live on YouTube. So, Councillor Rowley.
Yeah.
Your sound is good right now. But we'll see. If it gets echoey again, then I'm going to mute you from my end.
Okay, but when you do that, the operator back here is saying that I have to push *6 to unmute.
Okay.
So I won't touch nothing. I'll let you run it.
I can't unmute you. I can only ask you to unmute. So when I ask you to unmute when it's your turn, you're going to have to press that *6 and then to speak.
And that's what I do. And then it's all screwed up. Okay, I'll try the computer, and hey, I'll be on the phone. I'll try that *6. If not, I'll run it through the wall. No problem. Okay.
Because right now it's very clear and that there's no obstruction, no echoes. Okay, so who are we missing right now?
Denis.
Conseil Denis and Conseil Alice.
That was for the headline.
It doesn't look like you're connected to anything with that thing, because you have a screenshot. I'm not gonna have it. I'm gonna do my best.
And just walk up like this.
Okay, so Conseil Denis back, and now we have I think a cat that has joined us. But welcome back. We're proceeding with the committees of the whole. On procède avec les comités. Le premier comité à l'ordre du jour est gouvernement général, General Government. And I'll pass it on to the chair, Conseil.
Madam Mayor, are we on live stream?
We are.
Okay.
Yes. Conseil Alice, you're on mute.
Des fois, Des fois, il est dur aussi, il faut que tu pèses plusieurs fois. OK. Merci, Madame la mairesse. On a plusieurs items sur l'ordre du jour pour ce soir. Alors, we have a few items. It starts with discussion regarding CEO job description, and it's you that had sent a request, so I'll pass it on to you to explain what the request. You're the one that sent it. So can you go ahead, please?
Well, I don't anticipate a large debate on this subject. It should be short and sweet. There's two different copies, and I just want to know what's the process for adopting any changes to the actual document. So it's a question seeking the information.
Jay, I guess you're going to answer that.
Sure, through you, Madam Chair. My job description has evolved materially over the 20 years that I've been here. And those changes to a job description, Council is aware of. I've had 4 different iterations of a job description, one when I was hired as CAO clerk. Then we assumed we had the issue with LB Landfill, assuming general management of that, and then assuming the power plant that, and then the last iteration where we changed a material change to the job description was when I divested myself of the role of clerk. Obviously, I don't have the statutory duties of clerk, so that's no longer in my job description. But a job description is a general description of what the job is. It's not meant to be specific. Now, the way the job description was worded when we did the review back in, I'm going to guess, 2007, there was some specificity to it that probably shouldn't even exist in a job description, but is there anyway. And it was done with the consultant at the time. And some of the specificity that is in there that is adjusted fairly regularly when I get to it. It doesn't change what I do during the day, but the size of my budget or the municipal budget, which is up top, and then the number of direct reports, that has changed over the years, because when we get involved in org changes or anything like that, I might have 6 people, I might have 4 people reporting to me, or I might have 9 or 10. And so I adjust those things. In 2019, when I made those adjustments, I also looked at some of the wording, and I recognized that there was some wording with respect to when I meet with the mayor. And it was very specific to meet on a daily basis. And I hadn't met with the mayor on a daily basis for some time. I believe that language, which I don't think is appropriate, was put there when the mayor used to work upstairs, and we used to come down for a coffee, and we used to meet informally. So that's how it was articulated. But the general thing that should be there is obviously being available to the mayor and council on a periodic basis, and that's what the job description reflects. I don't believe that's a material change. It's just basically correction for accuracy. So if there's a material changes, if I'm going to start writing a Zamboni or something like that, and then obviously changes that of what are expected of a CAO will obviously come back to council. So job descriptions that are material changes would come back to council. Adjustments for accuracy would not.
Okay, so I'm going to, are you satisfied with that? Is that what you were looking for, Madam Mayor, or?
I did, like I said, I was not looking into the discussion pertaining to the specific line items and the changes in words and the significance of the wording, because that's not the proper form. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking, since there are 2 versions, and I'm not dating back to whatever, I'm talking about a copy that was given to me last term and a copy that was handed to a current councillor this term. So I'm asking to find out what is the process for a change. So if there's going to be changes into the wording, into whatever specific, what is the process? Does it come to council, yes or no?
My position is it doesn't have to. There is obviously some confusion. So in future, when I make these accuracy adjustments, I will share and circulate with council so they have the most updated version.
Okay, we'll go to Conseiller Yvon. Any comment?
No comment.
Councillor Chris?
No, I would add herder of cats to the job description. Other than that, no comment.
What did you say, Chris? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I would add herder of cats to the job description.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand. Okay. Conseiller Leo.
Oh, hello. You hear me, Lise?
Yeah, Rolly. I was talking to Conseiller Leo, but I'm glad you're back. I don't see you, but can we see you because you're using an iPad right now?
I am using the iPad, yes.
So can we see you?
Well, hey, this is all I can offer for now.
At least the sound is very good. So thank you very much, Councillor Rolly. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Leo and I'll be right back to you, okay? So Councillor Leo.
Councillor Rolly's before me, sorry. That's okay. That's okay, Leo. Go ahead.
Okay, oh, well, yes. Okay, I've been. So again, okay, we gotta start the right way. So I'm gonna change that right away. So Councillor Rolly. Any comment?
I don't have any problem with Jay the way he's doing it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Leo.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Jay, for like I mentioned the last meeting, 25 years of service, and I was looking at your not your resume, but your duties, what you do. You have a lot on your plate, and thank you so much, and thank you for your sound advice from time to time when I go. Not go see you anymore, but I mean to call you for advice, and it really sound advice. Thank you so much, Jay. That's it. Thank you.
Then it will be Councillor Ravida, right? I know
Right.
why I made that mistake because I don't have the right sheet. Okay,
Okay,
Go.
thank you. I'll first of all, I'll start with a statement that I heard before. Just lately, I was saying the most common phrase that we're going to be using in 2020, or we'll remember 2020, will be, Lees, you're on mute. It won't be Lees, but you're on mute, because that's basically everybody's having the same issue. Thank you, Jay, for clarifying. And I do agree, as a CEO, adjustments of accuracy is not something that you present to council. Other CAOs that I'm dealing with, and other Dr. Chirico, Catherine Matheson, they basically, when they have an adjustment of accuracy, they don't have to bring it back to us as a board. So thank you for your explanation. It's very explicit. It explains, and just keep up the good work. Thank you.
then Madame la Mairesse, do you have anything to add?
The only thing that I'm going to add is I was asking the question pertaining to changes to the actual content and the wording, which may have a significance in responsibilities. I wasn't discussing anything else, and I've got my answer. It has to be council, mayor and council as identified on the document. Thank you so much.
Conseiller Denis?
I have no comments.
Okay, so that's gonna be fast. My only comment is I feel there is any change that we should be, it doesn't have to be formal, it might not have to be to council, but I mean, we should know what's going on, because it might be just a change of wording, but that change everything. And that we all know that in collective agreement, for example, that a word sometime is worth millions of dollars, the way that people is gonna look at it. So my feeling is, if there's any change, and especially that it was given to one counselor, I don't know why it was not sent to us. I don't think I would have, I don't have the need to go into Jay and ask for a job description. If I have to do it, I'm going to do it as a formal request, because it have to do with everybody. Jay is the only employee that we have, and he answered to us. And I think if we want the line of communication to be well, if you change something on that, we should be advised. That's my thought. So I'm gonna go to the next one. So I hope they all go like that. We're going to HR issue, which we got a report from Alicia regarding that. So I'm going to ask Alicia to talk. Is she available, Jay? Because she said she had a problem with her computer. Is she okay now, or because I can?
Yes, she just doesn't have video. In fact,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alicia, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, so do you want to talk about why we're talking about that tonight?
No, it was actually a request from council. We do have a policy saying that we will bring back a report on just changes, so you can see, who has left us, who has joined us. There are a couple positions that are vacant right now, due to the one was just a COVID issue, a couple positions that were due to be hired in fourth quarter, which is where we are now. That's about all there is to it.
Okay, so then I'm gonna go around and ask Councillor if they had any question or comments. So Councillor Yvon.
Can I just intercede just in terms of, I'm getting a feedback that, and I'm wondering technically that we're not back on the air.
We are, I checked.
Eh?
We are, I checked the live stream and we're on.
You did, eh? Okay, thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair, I just wanted to confirm that we weren't going down there for no reason. Thanks.
Okay. So Councillor Yvon, do you have any comment regarding the HR, the report that Alicia sent to us? Yvon, yes and no. Okay. Now I'm back to Councillor Chris. Do you have any question?
No questions.
Okay. What about you, Councillor Rowley?
No questions.
Councillor
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, I don't want to mention any name. On the last one, corporate services, is she in maternity leave, or? I mean, when there was no new hire past employee. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, Kara was a contract while we had a maternity leave, so the regular employee is returning.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, now Conseiller Dan.
Yes, Lisa, what period of time does this cover?
This covers from January to September 30th of this year.
January 1st?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Madame la mairesse.
Thank you. I do have just a few questions. When it comes to seasonal employees, are they excluded from the HR policy? Like, I mean, in due course, let's say next season when we do hire seasonal summer students or seasonal employees, are we going to be provided in their info package the name of the individuals?
So the policy is not as specific as that. It does speak to seasonal students and just, you know, the minimum requirements as far as students that we hire. It doesn't speak to the specifics of naming the individuals for the students.
I think and this is only a comment, the reason why the policy was put in place is because we do have a policy pertaining to hiring, and council doesn't get involved other than senior manager positions. And I think the only thing in the day when this policy was erected is for council members to be aware who was hired. So this way we would know which employees are working for the municipality. It was a form of communication. So, you know, I think it'd be great that from time when we do hire seasonal employees that they be part of the policy. That's my personal opinion. You bump into those people in their facilities and sometimes you don't even know that they're working for us. And that was the GIF or the reason why we established the policy. The other question is the temporary layoff. It makes reference to 23 part-time employees. Is it, I imagine it does state because of COVID that they were temporarily laid off and have been recalled. Is it possible to have or to know which departments or which occupation were laid off? I was a little bit caught off surprise finding out that we had 23 that had been laid off. And if they've been recalled, does it mean that they're back at work or that they're scheduled to return to work?
So the layoffs were all within the community services department, and it is a combination of unionized staff and lifeguards and fitness staff. Some of them have been recalled and are already back at work. Others have been given a date of recall. Okay,
perfect. I don't know what cascading vacancy means. Is it possible to explain that? Yeah, comme un astérisque at the bottom, qui dit resulted in cascading vacancy.
Oh, and that's just because we had bumping internally. So the individual that was an employee was actually replaced by someone who's already internal, who was replaced by someone else who's already internal. So there was a lot of internal shuffling before we finally did an external hire. So the person listed there is the external hire, but there was a whole lot of, say, bumping around that went on internally first.
Okay, so the person who's listed here as the new hire is the actual individual in the position right now.
He's not the individual in the position, no, because the position was filled internally, which created an internal vacancy, and it kind of bumped through a few times.
Okay. And then when I look at the back for the vacant positions, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, and correct, I'm seeking clarification because I know that we've had so many discussions, you know, between the changes from the beginning of the start of the budget. We have a special project for corporate services. Is that position a contract position? I'm not sure, but as far as our last discussion, we had agreed that we would hire someone full-time for a term to assist us with a variety of projects like the community well-being and safety plan, the strategic plan, and so on.
That's
Is that-
correct.
Okay, so it is a term position, but full-time?
Yes.
Okay, great. And the other position, which is Project Management, Public Works, Cemetery Drain, and that the posting is in review. I understand not today, but I would hope that I'd like to be able to go in closed session because I do have questions pertaining to, and I don't want to be naming names, but we created this full-time position because it will replace a contractor. And then we also, well, I think that's what I retained from the documentation for budget. And I just wanted to get more details pertaining to which contractor and also making sure that when we make reference to cemetery and drain, in my mindset, I'm thinking of the rural clerk that we had in the past. And I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. And I did have specific questions, but in fear of naming names, I think it would probably be better in the forum of a closed session. And I don't know if we can go and close for that subject matter tonight or if it would be next week.
Yeah, certainly if you want to be very specific, then it, you know, we are talking identifiable. I can tell you generally, because we had some of the discussion at the council meeting, is it's replacing a number of contracted positions in that, you know, it also is doing some of our capital stuff as far as project management. And right now we're using some engineering firms to take care of that. Then there are the drains, and the cemetery is again, just it's not really the rural clerk position that we're looking at there, but certainly if you wanted to add it to a future discussion so you could have a fuller discussion, we can do that.
Okay, well, my request is that we would, I would appreciate going into closed session next week to be able to, I have the opportunity to ask the questions and not be out of term and doing it in an open meeting.
Okay, so maybe next meeting we can do that. Duly noted, Mel. Okay, so I don't, Conseiller Denis, your turn now.
I have no comments.
No comments, and I don't have any comments. So I'm gonna go to the next one, which is any requests for relief on water bill. So we have the Alicia sent us a memo regarding that, and she's seeking the direction because she's been having writing requests on number inquiry about.
Here, you skipped an item.
Well, that's what I'm talking. Oh yeah, okay, but reinstate. I have the good one.
Okay. No, it's because we heard you say.
I know, but I am at the right place. So I just wanted to say a summary that she had a few requests. So Alicia, will let you talk about it because you're the one that sent the memo. Okay.
Yeah, so if we look at the penalties and interest, and this applies to tax and to our water accounts. You know, early in the COVID pandemic, you know, we initially just kind of deferred our due dates and then came out and actually waived penalties and interest, recognizing that it was a huge disruption and that there was a lot of uncertainties with everyone's economic futures and what was happening at the time. Since that time, as the province has reopened and sort of following the trend of looking at other municipalities, I am proposing that we actually reinstate penalties interest on outstanding tax balances and water balances. Given that we're already in October, it means, you know, I kind of set the end of the month as a deadline to reinstate, so that on November 1st, we would then begin calculating on outstanding balances.
Okay, I'll go around to see if we are in agreement with Alicia's request. So let's start with Yvonne.
Yes, okay, I'm okay with it.
Chris, Councillor Chris.
Yeah, I agree that we should reinstate it. We're not allowed to run a deficit, and it's time to move on.
Okay, Councillor Rowley.
I totally agree. We should reinstate it. Yes.
Conseiller Leo.
Yes, I'm in agreement. Thank you.
Conseiller Dan.
Yeah, I sympathize with them, but someone has to pay, and I guess we have no choice because we can't run a deficit. So the bylaw is the general levy, and basically, why I guess we'll have to reinstate it.
Madame Ramirez? Yes or no?
I agree. When the COVID-19 started, we looked at measures to be able to alleviate and reduce the financial burden. I would just ask that we convey the information to the public, that the public know that that grace period is going to be ending on a certain date and that they're going to start paying interest and penalties resuming November 1st for any outstanding balance. So is there an opportunity that we're going to be able to inform the public and let them know?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Conseiller Denis?
I agree, no problem.
And I also agree. Like I wish we could give them a break for the year, but I do. Yeah, okay, so the next one is the, okay, so I should be on the right page, reduction of water and water waste for commercial property, this one, right? Am I on the right place now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So again, Alicia is seeking direction. She's been having a request that, as far as I can understand, if it's a business, for example, it's their laundromat and they close and they change into office, the same amount for commercial water rate changed drastically because a wash and dryer business, they use a lot more water than usually an office will do. So I think that's the request, kind of request, if I understand the memo correctly, Alicia. So I'll let you speak to you about it, okay?
Actually, this is a COVID related question as well, and it's a bit more challenging in that we've had some requests, a couple of formal requests, and just some inquiries. When businesses were not able to operate, either in a facility that they own themselves or a landlord that had tenants that were not able to operate, we've had requests on whether we would consider reducing our flat rate fees for water, because all of our water is flat rate, not on a usage. And you know, we don't have the ability to just to kind of you know, say, yeah, I agree that you weren't there, and therefore we're going to reduce the rate. So I'm looking for a bit of guidance, but it is a little bit trickier in that, you know, if we're dealing with you know, a commercial landlord whose tenant may not have been in there for, you know, 3 weeks, might not have been in there for 6 weeks, may still have decided not to open yet, even though they've got the ability to open, and we've got provincial orders, not orders, but provincial guidelines regarding evictions and all the rest. So sometimes landlords aren't collecting rent at this point, but will at some point in the future collect rent. And so it's a little bit of a, you know, how do we determine financial need, and are we willing to entertain this? And you know, if we do it for one, we have to have a program that's available for all, because we can't just do these as one-offs that come across. There's a little bit different for not-for-profit and things like that. So before I got too far into trying to develop any kind of program or what looked reasonable or how we feel about this, I thought I would bring it to council to let you know that these requests are out there and to get a bit of a feedback before we start looking at these, if we even are going to look at these. And again, you know, it's going to appear a little bit cold and heartless, and it isn't really meant to be that way. But there are other levels of government that made funds available for a number of different commercial ventures, and whether it's the municipality's role or not at all in this kind of financial support to commercial enterprises through COVID. So I'm just looking for some guidance from council.
So can I interfere before, Alicia, that we go on? Because that's one part, but the other part was when business doesn't reopen, can the adjustment be done?
So we already have in place. So if you know, you're in a building and you have a pet groomer's there and the pet groomer closes up and there's either nobody in the building now because the pet groomer is not there, or the building is now an accounting office instead of a pet groomer, we already have mechanisms to go in and reevaluate what type of business and to change it so that it matches. So that we can deal with that already. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not the issue here. Okay, thank you, Alicia. So I'm gonna go around and see what people around the table have to say. So Yvonne?
Well, thank you, Alicia, for the explanation. I do agree because of COVID, and as you all know, things have changed considerably with that. That some leeway should be given to some businesses that have walked away for a period of 3 or 4 months, closed their businesses, and without knowing the fact that they hadn't utilized the sewers or the water at that time period, that there be a mechanism there to help them in some way, not face the burden of having to pay a high water bill when it's not being used. So I would like to see something in place. It's only for a short period of time. We do want to encourage the landlords and the businesses to remain as such. I noticed that you have mentioned they receive financial assistance, and unfortunately, that financial assistance, it was a costly venture for some landlords because the landlord had to pay 25% of that assistance. So it's a catch-22. I would like to see some mechanism there to help the commercial and the landlords try to make ends meet, knowing that they're closed and there's no money coming in. So I'd like to see something happen in some way. And we all know it's only going to be for a short period of time, hopefully. And it's just a little helping hand to alleviate the situation they're in. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay, so now Christopher.
Well, I see it a little differently, and maybe Elisa might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but water is basically a zero-sum game. So we budget for water and that's what it costs. So I would think that if we found some way to give landlords a break, that means somebody else has got to pay that money. It's like we need to come up with that money. So by giving somebody a break, aren't we in fact causing somebody else to pay more at some point? That would be my question.
So if I may, you're correct that the water system is a user pay system, and it's based on budgeting to zero, so that if we end up and we budget it based on, like I said, and that's the difficulty is we are budgeted based on flat rates, not based on consumption. So we don't have a variable component to our water rates for commercial at all. So the potential risk, and I don't know how large a request might come in if we started doing this, but the potential risk is that we have a significant amount of businesses that need financial support from the municipality or take advantage of financial support from the municipality. We end up with a deficit in our water department that we have to recover in future years, and then it does come out across everybody. You're correct, because it does have to come back to zero. So it is, yeah, it's challenging.
Okay, so thank you. So that answers my question. And although it's unfortunate, and I know people are suffering, but so I would say we can't do it. So thank you.
Councillor Rowley.
I'm in the same agreement. It's we're supposed to be at zero at the end of the year, and somebody else is going to have to pay for the bill. So it's unfortunate, but it has to be. It has to be.
Conseiller Leo.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I agree with Councillor Chris and Councillor Rowley. I mean, if it would be a charitable organization, and maybe we could give them a break. And I think we did for the Legion somehow. I'm not, if I remember correctly. But I mean, if it's a business, it's better hard, because I mean, if Peter doesn't pay, Paul has to pay. So I mean, no, somebody else has to pay for it. So no, I agree. Thank you.
Okay, Conseiller Dan.
Thank you. So I guess the potential risk, you said if it's a significant amount of businesses that request relief, then we would be in a deficit position in the water budget. So, but I guess I'm a little puzzled. How would you even determine it? Because we're not in a meter system. I know that other communities have a meter system, and you pay what you use. And I know that the reason they put that in place is because then they can control the usage. People can control your usage. How would you do it, Lisa?
And that's certainly a challenge, Councillor Revita. You know, and you know, if council wanted to go there, it would be a little bit arbitrary in that, you know, whether whether council wanted to see it as, you know, a 50% reduction because we know that we can live with that and it's not going to give us too much problem, or they've requested 100%, or it certainly is a challenge. And that's what I've tossed around some ideas, but I haven't got an answer for you because I wanted to know whether I should even kind of be pursuing what the logistics of it would be before I got too far, because it is going to be a fairly, either arbitrary or complicated. Those are the two options. Yeah.
So I just to finalize my comment, Madam Chair, I would say no. No, I agree with my other colleagues. Thank you.
Madame la mairesse?
Bien, j'aimerais qu'on explore les options. I'd like to explore the option. What comes to mind, I do know that we have a bylaw, we have rates when it comes to commercial and when it comes to residential. I can see that without naming any businesses, as an example, let's look at the restaurants. They were foreclosed or they were closed, not by choice, but by provincial order. And I would like to see an opportunity that they can be charged at a lower rate because they were not consuming. And I'm not the expert, the engineer that operates the treatment plants, but if they weren't using for the usage that they're paying for, I imagine that the capacity of what was being sent to those properties was not the actual expenditures, or maybe at a reduced cost. What also comes to mind is that we got nearly $1 million in COVID relief funding because of the COVID pressure that municipalities have been faced, and decisions that municipalities have taken and the impact that it's had on our budget. And I think it would be an opportunity that we could entertain and see what would be the financial impact if we did.
Thank you, Madame la mairesse. Conseiller Denis.
Yes, Alicia, is there some sort of system that they would apply individually, or do we have to give the rebate to everybody? Like a restaurant versus another, like Can't Tire or whatever, another hardware store? Is there a system in place that a restaurant that's been closed could apply and specifically, or?
We don't have a system now, but certainly that's what, you know, if council, you know, wants to explore, sometimes often they would have to, I wouldn't do it as a blanket. It would have to be on an application base, and then we would have to have some way of assessing those applications and have, you know, some way, as Councillor Revita said, of determining what the actual difference might be, because we don't actually have any ability to track flow to individual businesses. We have no idea of what actual usage has been or how much it has changed.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the ones that would be closed for a while, and then at least we could verify that. But what kind of money are we talking about?
I don't know.
And again, that's some of the difficulties. Certainly, you know, within our system, we are primarily a residential community, and so that follows tax and water. Our water rates for commercial are, you know, typically higher than our water rates for our residential. But I would have no way of actually even beginning to estimate at this time. The requests that we've had come through, are not huge numbers, but again, if it becomes an offer that's available to all commercial enterprises, I don't even know how to begin to estimate that for you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see some sort of a system for individual, what do you call it? Rebate or whatever. That's my opinion. Thank you.
So I'll finish by saying my opinion, and I think I would not go and do a blanket over all the business that was affected during COVID, because that would be everybody. That's clear. Everybody was and yes, there's money available, and I mean, it's the portion they pay. But I would look at specifically, because there's not many, I don't think, that close completely their business. That's like, because the like I said, there is a difference in commercial, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alicia, like, I mean, is like, for example, a hairdresser that have 6 chair, meaning 6 sink, 2-3 toilet, will be the same that an office for an accountant that have just 1 bathroom. So is it their commercial? Both of them could pay commercial tax, but is their water rate will be the same as?
No.
Okay, so
No, the water rates
okay.
are will be quite different.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. I will not look at every business that did suffer some loss, because I mean, that's mean everybody will be on all business will have to be evaluated, and I don't agree with that. But I will certainly, if it's possible, and I think you could find out that, and I don't think there's many business that close completely, even restaurant. There's some that stop their operation and then they reopen, but I know a couple of restaurants that stay open. They were doing some takeout. I know some restaurant that closed completely. So I think this is what we need to concentrate. And if there's other business, we only have 1 laundromat. I think it would be one of business that's the most. Oh well, what about the garage that car wash? They use a lot of water, so they didn't close, right? I don't think I didn't. There's only 2, and I saw them. I went myself. So just a possibility maybe to look, Alicia, not to go and look at every business, but if there's a request for that, and there will be, you could come back and specific, like we could put it very specific about what we can do and not do. And yes, we did have money from COVID, and obviously we're going to be using it. We know that we lost revenue also, a lot of revenue with our community center, but obviously there were some layoffs, so salary were not paid. So I think it's worth to look at it. That's my feeling. So I don't know, we want to go about, and I think everybody said their point of view, and I think I don't know. So I can go around and said the question very simply said, so would you like to give direction to staff to maybe come back, maybe with a form and specific only, that's very clear, and that will not be like 50% of the business in town, because there's not a lot that closed completely during the COVID. So I'm gonna go around to see if there's a direction that we can give to staff. So Yvon, would you agree with that? To look? I don't know you're Madame Mary, you're on mute.
I agree. I think we should look at some mechanism. We're not talking a lot of money, because like you had mentioned, there's a lot of businesses that stayed open and done well. So we're only looking at maybe a few, or 4 or 5 maybe, and look at see whether or not it's possible to reduce it maybe 50%, 75%, 60%. We're not asking, again, like I mentioned, there's not a lot of money. As the mayor pointed out, we did receive close to $1 million in COVID assistance.
Okay, Councilor Yvon, I'm going to stop you, because so you're in agreement to look into it. Okay, thank you. Councilor Christopher?
No, I'm not in agreement.
Okay, Rolly?
No, I'm not in agreement. I would ask.
Okay,
staff to be
thank you,
good.
thank you, Councilor Rolly. You said no, and that was the question, if you agree or don't agree. Conseiller Léo?
No.
Conseiller Dam?
No.
Madame la mairesse?
Yes, strictly for.
Okay, okay, yes, okay, strictly for like, okay. Conseiller Denis?
Yes.
And also, yes, so it's 4x4 for no need to go further to that. So we'll go to the next point. And the next point is clarification on a point of order, which was a request that I myself asked Jay to look into it. And thank you very much. A very long document. And I mean, very compatible, obviously, to the procedure bylaw, which most of us should. And I'm going to speak to myself. I do know. And the only thing I would ask Jay, because you did so good. I would have loved, because the purpose of that, I mean, you can be, and if everybody had looked at presidential debate, you could have God presenting that thing and it would not work out. So I would like also to add to that, that as a chair, we should be able to control the meeting. That's for sure, that's our job. But there's a responsibility also to the member, to the participant, because I mean, it's very hard to chair a meeting when you have point of order, you have somebody yelling in the back, you have argument between two other one. So I think it's a responsibility to everybody. And I do understand and I do agree that we should know, we should be prepared. I spent since yesterday trying to prepare for meeting, but when sometimes that white stuff, that sometimes we don't call it white stuff, just hit the fan, to be very polite, it's kind of hard. So I would like to maybe to make sure that it's not just the role of the responsibility of the chair to manage a meeting. I think that the participant and the member of council and the member of whatever have a role to play with that. So Jay, you want to say something? And thank you very much, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Just to respond to that, my document was not to talk about necessarily the responsibilities of everybody or members of council to behave themselves. I was asked to comment on what a point of order is and when to use it, when not. And yes, you're right that in the past, I would suggest that points of order have not been used completely appropriately, and points of order are raised for issues that may not be points of order. And I think that the document, I gently indicate that. But the point I was making is that a point of order is basically when the rules aren't being followed. And so the chair typically is the keeper of the rules, and it's not just about you. We chair a ton of things, so I'm not making anything specifically.
Well, I don't take it personally, Jay, because I see other chairs.
So what I'm saying is that points of order are usually raised on an exception basis when the chair didn't catch something themselves with respect to something that's not according to one of our procedural bylaw or whatever. So that's all I'm making, is that if the chair is able to catch things as much as possible and follows within the rules, then points of orders would be minimized. And that was the only point I'm making. With respect to the running of meetings and the conduct of meetings, your procedural bylaw does discuss comportment in the of how you should be handling yourselves in a public meeting, and there are remedies and methods of calling to order individuals who are not complying with their responsibilities for decorum. So I'm not speaking of decorum. My memo strictly speaks to what a point of order is, when it should be raised, and what it isn't. And it isn't a point of order to say I disagree with, the clerk. Point of order, I don't agree with you, Melanie. There's more to it than that. So that's all I was pointing out, and that's the only point I was making. Not about the comportment of meetings.
No, and Jay, I think it's good that we're discussing that, because like I said, and also a point of order is not used to go beyond, because I mean, it's a job of a chair to listen to a point of order and to rule out. But to be able to listen and to rule out, you need to have the time to do so also. And that's why I brought it, and not just for myself, that we're all chairing some meeting. So I think it's a teamwork, because we need to work and have respect for the role of the person that have as a chair, and then as a person, because I've been put in my place before for interrupting somebody, and when I do it, I don't mind being so. But I mean, I guess this is my only comment about that, which was big, but thank you very much for the document. And I'll go to the next one, so which is cancellation RFP for strategic plan.
Chair,
Yes,
I did have a question that I just wanted to, maybe not a question, but maybe clarification pertaining to the point of order, because I'm just going according to observation of what we experienced. I just want, and it's awareness for all of us, and I agree with that. When the point of order is raised, assuming there's, the floor is taken by a member, and the point of order is raised because the individual feels that it's a violation of the rule. Can the point of order be raised while the member is talking, or do they need to wait until the member is finished speaking? Because I see this occurring often. So point of order is raised, does it mean discussion stops? The chair takes over, listens to the point of order and makes a ruling? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Jay, I think so.
That's a good question. Typically, when points of orders are raised, they're usually raised to stop a violation that is occurring. So, you know, if you were to allow somebody to continue a long discussion on a matter that really shouldn't be discussed or that is inappropriate given whatever, if somebody just wants to raise their hand and indicate point of order, I think that that's the way it should be done. But then I think what happens then is the discussion needs to stop. Everybody needs to stop. And the chair should say, what is your point of order? And then the chair should rule. So typically, points of order are not raised as often as they have been. But so, you know, it's done with decorum. I'd like to raise a point of order. The member is speaking to something that I do not believe is on the agenda, and okay, thank you. And then the chair rules. So, you know, if you just allow it to go through,
Well, then it's too late.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a thin line to being rude, but I think that if there's decorum in how you're doing business, and I mean, it might be tough with COVID with these little pictures that we're all seeing here, but in general, if you raise your hand in a meeting that everybody hears, and Madam Chair, I wish to raise a point of order, then the chair should recognize that and raise it, and the points of order should be, to seriously discuss a matter that is not according to our procedural bylaw or other regulations as well. It's not just procedural bylaw. There are other policies and rules that could be raised.
Okay. I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's important, because like if I would be speaking and someone calls a point of order on what I'm saying that there's a violation, well, then I need to stop speaking. The chair takes over and listens to the point of order and makes a ruling. Now, my second question to that, or comment or clarification, is the chair makes a ruling and then we proceed with the discussion. However, if a member doesn't agree with the ruling of the chair and wishes to appeal, the appeal needs to state the reason why they don't agree with the ruling. It just can't be a personal comment saying, I don't agree. If you don't agree with the ruling and you say, I'm appealing because I don't agree, you need to validate why you don't agree. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what their bylaw says.
Okay. No, I just want to clarify because I think it's an opportunity. We've never had that discussion before. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do, can I go to the next point now? Or anybody else have a comment? Sorry, I did not ask that before because I thought it was. So anybody have comments on that? Okay, next, we're talking about cancellation of RFP for strategic plan, which again, Alicia, you're busy tonight, right? Community strategic plan in February 2020, there were requests, and now I'm recommending that, I don't want to read everything, so I'm recommending that we cancel the RFP process. If council wishes to pursue a strategic plan, or RFP can be reissued with a scope of work that include alternate forms of consultation and meeting on the reinsurance of the RFP. So the discussion is, are we canceling it, or because she's looking for direction? So I'm going to go and start with Yvonne. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's just canceling for the time being. It can always be reinstated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Conseiller Chris?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it is very important that we get this together, but it doesn't make a lot of sense now. So I would agree just to, I mean, let's not say cancel, let's say put it on hold.
Okay, Conseiller Rollet.
Put it on hold.
Conseiller Léo.
Postpone, thank you.
Conseiller Dan.
Yes, I agree.
Madame la Mairesse.
I agree that we cancel, and I agree that we put it on hold, but that we specify a timeline. I'd like for this to come back, if possible, no later than January, and that we can hash out that discussion.
Okay. Conseiller Denis.
I agree with Alicia's recommendation.
And my comment is, I think for now, yeah, I think it's not a bad idea, but at the same time, I think when we're talking about public, there could be work done maybe to develop kind of a questionnaire to get ready when we're ready for it. And I think in January, I think we should bring it back to see where we are at it. We cannot cancel it for the rest of it. There's still over 2 years in the term. And there's been so much thing happening that we were not able to deal with it. So right now, obviously, everybody agreed that it should be canceled, but I would like to see put it back on the table in January. And like I said, I don't know, Alicia, I don't know if it's a good idea maybe to start developing like a kind of a questionnaire that can be sent, because this can be done online. It can be sent to the Chamber of Commerce to give to their members. There's a lot of things that can be done. God bless you, Monsieur Barbeau. So I don't know, Alicia, do you think it's something possible to do?
So that's actually part of what we had requested, that when we're doing an RFP, that the consultants actually do those kinds of things, that they look at those ways of communicating with the public. The problem is that when we, originally envisioned this one, that the methods that they talked about envisioning with the public were much more hands-on. So, yeah, but certainly, coming back with a fresh RFP that reflects the times we're in January, so that it doesn't lose track altogether, I think is a reasonable approach. And then the consultants would have the ability of what they're doing online through questionnaires, whatever they're going to do.
Okay, so Alicia, again, I have a question, because when we're talking about HR, there's a person that would be hired to do part 2 work in different file that we have open. When is that person would be hired?
So, and that's where that we were still sort of, they kind of had paused because a lot of these projects had paused. And we were sort of doing this posting development. It would probably be a good idea that we're kind of looking at doing the things kind of in tandem. We still do have the community safety and well-being plan that we need to get back on the table and things like that. So I think that we still need to be looking at that position, and we may end up that the timing rolls together.
Okay, so, and talking about the safety plan, do you have an idea when we'll be able to start working on it, Alicia? And I know that a delay was agreed upon, if I could say it like that, because it was supposed to be due next January, right?
Yeah.
So did they give us a new time frame to work on it?
They so I have to go back. I don't think they actually gave an end date. They did say that there would be a deferral available. I'm not sure if they actually gave what the date was or not on the deferral, but yeah, I don't have an answer for you tonight, Councillor Senecal, but I do agree we need to get back on it.
Okay, so then we'll discuss that back in January, I guess. So if there's no other question, we're going to go to is it J or G in English? Jerry, like Jerry, is that a J or a G?
Jay,
Thank you. Counter offer to purchase a property behind Bay Street. And again, we have a letter, a memo. And this time, Melanie, it's your turn. You're on the platform. Okay, so it's a memo regarding an offer, and I think we had discussed that in July. And then so I'll pass it on to you. I could.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our memo is fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Council had agreed that the property, they didn't have any real need for it. I had it appraised. I obtained an opinion of value for $25,000. I communicated that to the proponent, who indicated that his entire budget for the project, including surveying and appraisal and all of those things that we usually include over and above the purchase price, was 25, and he was requesting to know whether or not council would take 19 as a counter offer, such that after the surveying and the appraisal and the other things that he has to do, the cost would essentially be 25. So that was the counter offer, and I'm seeking council direction.
So before I go around, I'm going to ask you a question. Is the 19,000, and if they have to pay for their lawyer's fee and what do you call it, that survey, that would be about the same thing?
Basically, I did the math, and he'll come out somewhere between 23 and 25, depending on, I can't say how much a survey is going to cost or what his lawyer is going to charge, but I think it'll be probably somewhere in the neighborhood.
Okay, so then I'll go around the table to see. So your question, the directive is we agree to let it go for 19,000, but he have to pay for the survey and the lawyer's fee, or 25,000 and we pay for the lawyer's fees and the survey? Oh, we don't.
No,
so that
they always, the buyers always pay for the surveys and the lawyer and their lawyer's fees. We sell them as is, where is, with them covering those costs. So what he's wondering is whether or not we'd reduce the price so that his all-in purchase price would come out to 25 at the end.
Okay, then. Okay, that changed a little bit. So I'm going to go, because the way I read it, I understand that. So thank you for the clarification. So I'm going to go around, and I'm going to start with Yvonne. What do you think, Yvonne? And your mic is off.
In lieu of the clarification, I think we should sell it to what the going rate was. Thank you.
I think it's, and I'm going to go next to Chris.
I agree with Yvonne. I was going to say 22 or whatever, but if we're not on the hook for those fees anyway, then yeah, I mean, what it's appraised for is what it's appraised for. Thanks.
Okay, Conseiller Leo.
It's Councillor Rowley before me, Madam Chair.
Conseiller Rowley. On the wrong paper. So I got two paper, one right, one and one. Conseiller Rowley, please.
Thank you.
What do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think it should be at the valued price.
Okay. So Conseiller Leo.
Same thing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Conseiller Dan.
Yes, the appraisal rate.
Madame la Mairesse.
The assessment value.
Okay, Conseiller Denis.
Yes, assessment value. I have a question for Melanie first. Was that assessment made with consideration of that there's no road to that lot, or do you think?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Yes, the appraisal was made on the basis that it's a lot addition to the person's existing property, not a standalone lot.
Okay, thank you. So the full price, I guess, 25.
Yeah, and I will have to agree with that. If we want to be consistent, we have to treat everybody the same way. So
Thank you.
So status quo. You got the directive, Melanie?
I do. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have an offer to purchase land, industrial park. Okay, so, and we have a nice memo again, Melanie. So an expression of interest, and the asking price, if I read it, was being $1,000 per acre, plus per rata cost of the road construction, approximately $11,500 per acre. Is that, am I correct?
Per lot.
Per lot, excuse me. So how many acre? I think
It's roughly a 5-acre lot. So would be 5,000 plus the pro rata share of the road.
Okay,
Madam
so
Chair.
I'm going to ask you a question. Did we make an assessment of that lot? Is that what it's worth?
Madam, as it indicated in my memo, that property hasn't been reappraised since 2010, which was the second part of my question as to whether or not council wants to consider revisiting the appraisal of the entire parcel, the remaining lots that we have, as well as this one, or go with what we've charged everybody else on this one and then appraise the rest. I'm just seeking direction on both this lot and then how we want to proceed with the balance.
Okay, well, I'll say my comment at the end. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask Yvonne, what do you think?
I think we should have a reappraisal in light of the improvements. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Chris, Conseiller Chris.
Yeah, I
Christopher.
agree. I think it should be, it's not just any improvements, but definitely the price of land has increased over the last 10 years. So I would agree, reappraisal.
Okay, Conseiller Rowley.
Thank you. I agree with Yvonne. It should be reassessed.
Okay, Conseiller Leo.
Same thing, Madam Chair.
Conseiller Dan.
Reappraise, please.
Madame la Mairesse.
I'd like to see a deferral on the issue before we get a reappraisal. We got a feasibility study done on our industrial park. And my only concern with all of this is we've already sold, I'd say, we have 10 lots remaining, 6 have been sold. And the other issue is the last lots that were sold was for a specific project, and I don't recall the year that it was done. But today the project is still not up and running. But I think the issue is, what do we have left? And what's our vision with what we have left? Because if we're selling piecemeal, what happens if we need this for a major investor, or what's our vision with the lots that are remaining? And what's the feedback that we can get from the ECDEF committee and members of council? So I'm putting in a request for deferral, that we have the time to have sort of a mini discussion pertaining to the feasibility study, which we all got a copy, and see where we want to go with what's left out there.
Okay, well, what's the process for deferral? I think that I think it does make sense, because we have 10 lots, and I mean, they might be first. Yes, Mel.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to clarify. We had 100 acres, and the original plan was to divide it up into 10 lots. At the present, we've only surveyed 8, 7 of which are sold.
Okay.
So we have a big chunk of about 60 acres left, but it's not surveyed, it's not in lots, it's just field.
Okay. So what you're saying tonight, that the lot we're talking, it was planned to be sever and sell as a lot.
Well, we severed, Madam Chair, we severed them we split them up in 2 lots of 4. So we split 4, sold them, built the road a little ways, split up 4 more, brought the road a little bit farther. And that's where we are, is at the end of those 8 lots. We have 7 sold and 1 remaining, and that's the offers on that 1 remaining. The balance of the lands are just raw.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, does it change your point of view on that? I think it does change.
It doesn't change my point of view. I'm working with the feasibility study that I reviewed because of discussions that we had at the Economic Advisory Committee. And if we look at the plan layout, and this is a recent study that was done last term, and council of the day received the info, but has not discussed the issue. So my recommendation is that we can defer this request so we can at least have the opportunity to review this document and see if there's any vision or preference of what we want to do with what's outlined in the feasibility study. That's what I'm saying. Because when I make reference to 16 lots, 6 sold, 10 left, that was a layout that was part of the component of the study. And we paid a lot of money for that study, and the province invested money in this study as well.
Okay, well then I guess if the deferral is on the table, I mean,
No discussion.
You call it code.
Can I ask a question? Do we have to defer? Do we have to defer to a certain date?
Oh,
To the timeline?
That's correct.
We're not actually, there's no motion on the table. We're still in committee. So if the direction of staff is to bring it back at a future meeting, the direction is sufficient, but there's no motion on the table that needs to be actually deferred.
so, Madam
That's correct, but there still has to be a roundtable to see if majority would want to have a discussion of our feasibility study before looking at a possibility of selling this lot. So you have a direct committee.
So I'll go around and I'm going to start with you, Yvonne. Would you like to see the study before a discussion before we proceed with selling any more lot?
Yes, I would. I'd be interested in knowing what's going on there, yes.
Okay, Conseiller Christopher.
I'd be okay with it as long as it's in a decent time frame, because this is somebody looking to put a complementary business to the proposed crematorium. So let's not get in the way of that if we don't have to.
So okay, Conseiller Rollet.
No, I'm not in favor of deferral.
Okay, so Conseiller Leo.
No, Madam Chair, yes, just a point of clarification. We're being asked to buy a piece of property from us. So when we first started, we wanted to get an appraisal on the rest of the property, and I think we have to deal with this and not go to a feasibility study for just one lot. I agree with Madam Mayor. Do a feasibility study for the rest of the Shell Industrial Park, but not for the request we're asking today, this evening. So let's get a different appraisal, and then we'll deal with it shortly.
Okay, so but Councillor Leo, correct me if I'm wrong, Mel, but you said that everything with the feasibility study include all the lot right now. So which one?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did the study based on the fully built out subdivision, correct?
Correct, and the study focused a lot on what it would cost to bring services to that property so that we can sell serviced industrial land.
Okay. So Jay, you have a point?
Yeah, just a thought. So you have a request to buy or to purchase land. You could basically sell it for, as Melanie's memo indicates, for what other people have sold. Or you can get a reconfirmation of what the price is, which is what certain councillors were steering towards. And then the mayor suggested that she'd also like to review the feasibility study. My only comment would be that both those ideas aren't mutually exclusive. Council could direct staff to bring back the feasibility study and discuss it again. And concurrently, we can basically get a reassessment of what the property would be valued at. And so we could kill both birds with the same stone. And while we're bringing back the feasibility study, we can get potentially a new price per acre.
Okay. So with that new information, I was up to Dan, Conseiller Dan. Dan, your mic is off, Dan. Conseiller Dan.
Oh, the famous phrase. No, we have an offer. Somebody's wanted to purchase that land for a specific reason. And I think it's up to us to at least get an assessment on that land part. Because the thing is why would we stand in front of this person's, his business venture? So I would agree with what Jay just said. Let's look at an assessment, and then we can do have the feasibility study at the same time brought back to us. But I want a very short time frame on this because I don't think it's fair to the proponent.
Okay, so Conseiller Denis?
Well, I really don't agree in selling a piece of land for $1,000 when we have other issues at the other end that we're discussing at the time, and we're not being fair to everybody here. This was an old, I don't know, agreement that you had with other councils, but I don't agree that we should sell $1,000 per acre to, unless there's a proven industry that's going to make a lot of jobs. But no, I don't agree with that.
So do you agree for a survey, and at the same time, what it's been proposed that we look at the feasible study that was done? So both things. So yes, not a survey, excuse me, Conseiller Denis, not a survey, an appraisal. So would you agree with that? And the survey?
I agree with that. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so, and I also agree that we can do both at the same time, I think, and that will give us a chance because I look at it briefly, but you understand, and to be able to ask question also when we bring it back to the table. So I take both things. And okay, so I think the majority right now, the direction should be that yes, you go for an appraisal now, and that you also bring at later on, but not way too far back, the feasibility study that was done, so we can look at it and discuss it and have our question answered. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to offer, that's done. Change to the Integrity Commissioner bylaw, and it was request was provided by Councillor Chris. So I'm going to go with Councillor Chris have to say, and then I'm going to do like I did since the beginning, go around the table. So Councillor Chris, could you explain your rationale or you want and about your request?
Okay, so two parts to this. So during the Integrity Commissioner's presentation, I asked the question, why aren't we adhering to our own bylaw? So Section 8 of our bylaw puts the municipal administration in the loop, and they're not in the loop. And so we have a bylaw, and we're not adhering to it. So either it needs to be changed or it needs to be adhered to. So that's point one. And then secondly, I think when an elected official makes a complaint, that those should ultimately be public, because we are elected by the public, and it costs taxpayer money, and they have a right to see that. It doesn't make any sense that we have a secret process. And I think this is something that should be adopted all over. It's not just us. I think that a lot of people, a lot of councils are suffering because of the way that this has been implemented. So that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to go around. I know you have you want to go, Councillor Dan? You want to go somewhere and come back? Go. Conseiller Yvon, what do you think about that? You want to do the change? Are you agreeing with that? Mike is off, please.
With adherence to various sections of bylaw, our bylaw, I'm not quite sure about that. And changes to the bylaw to make complaints, answers, and conclusions public, I don't agree with that. Thank you.
Okay. So now, Councillor Chris, well, you stated your piece, so obviously you would agree with that. Then I'm going to go to Conseiller Rowley.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Chair. I totally agree on both subjects. bylaw states that the staff has to be kept in the loop. They're not, so that has to be changed. And as far as we say, we're always saying that we want to be transparent. We want to run things transparent. We have integrity. It's the tax money of the people that it's being paying for all these complaints to the integrity commissioner. So I say, when there's a member of council that makes a complaint, then it should be public. If it's a member of the public that make a complaint, that could stay, you don't expose that. But when it's a member of council making a complaint on a member of council, it should be made public, so people would know. And like we say, we're always saying we're transparency. Well, let's put where our the money where the mouth is. Thank you.
Okay, Conseiller Léo.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I also agree. Yeah, if there's a complaint against me or another member of council or whatever, and then whatever the finding is, I think it should be made public. I mean, either you're guilty or you're exonerated, doesn't matter, but the public should be able to know. If it's a member from the public, it's a different story. But if it's a member of council, yes, I also agree. Thank you.
Okay, Conseiller Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree that the information should be shared with the CAO, because there should be a loop back to that, to the administration. That's the first point. The second point, I think if we're going to be transparent and that we're going to be open to the public, that these things should be shared. Sometimes they're misunderstandings. Sometimes it's just, like a comment that was made. I think the public should be aware of what went on behind the scenes, and that, at what cost, because these things do cost money. And this way, people might be a little bit more hesitant to file a complaint when it's frivolous, and because they do take a long time to respond to, and it's just extra effort that we should be that we shouldn't have to do, and that we could be concentrating on doing positive things. So to make a long story short, I think that we should be transparent, and we should be sharing those that are between council members. I don't think it should be for the public, because the public, no, I wouldn't want them, because then it would prevent them from doing that. So that's my position. Thank you.
Okay. And then Madame la Mairesse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to state, I really appreciated the presentation of the Integrity Commissioner when he came to council. J'ai vraiment apprécié la présentation de notre commissaire d'intégrité. I also encourage all citizens to watch the YouTube presentation of the IC. It was beneficial for all. He did explain what's his commitment, what's his contract with the municipality, how he deals with complaint. He's also a lawyer. He explained the process pertaining to the reporting according to our contract that we have. When the question was asked to the IC said, yeah, you feel free to change, but guess what? If you want more reporting, it's going to cost your municipality more money. So I can't support what's being presented based on that. And I also recall one of the major comments is that we do not have any conflict resolution mechanism available other than the IC. And it should not be felt in any way, shape, or form a form of reprisal or intimidation. And I think at the end of the day, we shouldn't be worried that there would be investigation if we all adhere to the rules, because then there wouldn't be any complaints. So transparency is making sure that taxpayers know how much we spend, making sure that they get a copy of the report of the IC, making sure that that report is accessible and readable to all taxpayers, either online or being provided a hard copy if they wish. So Those are the reasons I cannot support the changes that are being brought forward this evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Conseiller Denis.
To you, Madam Chair. I feel the system is working fine like this. I don't see why we should change it just for the sake of change. I have no problem with the system right now, and I don't agree to the amendment.
Okay, and last, my comment is that, you know, when you're talking about counselor, that their name should be public, and I mean the public also, because guess what? I'm hearing a lot of story in town that there was complaint made by a certain counselor, but it was at the request of some, it was at the request, it was resident at the request of some counselor. So if we ever I would ever agree to something like that, it would be across the board, not just to put out on the spot any one of us. And for the simple reason that when we feel that we have reason that the code of conduct was breached, the only way that's going to be an investigation is because there is evidence that it could be it, and that's when the investigation. So how many of those complaints came back that they were proven? Well, obviously he did his diligent work to prove, and because there were a lot of complaints made, and I did not heard anything, so I guess maybe they were not against me, but I'm not saying that. I think that we have a bylaw, we should have discussed that. I think if they want to be changed by the next council because they don't feel it's agreeable, but right now I'm not going to be supporting trying to change every bylaw we have, because it doesn't seem not to suit the purpose of some of us. So I say a no, so that I don't agree with the change. Councillor Fisher, you do have another question, but I mean, after that, I'm just going to change this. Anybody had changed their mind, because we had went around, and I think we're ready for directive to be given to staff. Or no directive.
Well,
Yes.
the one comment I have then, because I'm hearing, so we have I just don't understand how we're going to have a bylaw, and we're going to say we're not going to adhere to our bylaw. This is what we voted on. So section 8. So are we deleting things out of the bylaw, or are we just going to have a bylaw that we just ignore?
Well, the thing is, I have not much to say about that, because I feel, first of all, the senior staff, would it be Jay or anybody, senior staff are not responsible for us to reprimand or something like that. I think the deal, I don't know why that bylaw was put into place. But I mean, it's the same when we are aware of when there's an investigation done about one employee, but we are not made aware when he's sitting down and talking to an employee. So I don't think so that part, and it doesn't matter to me right now. It's not been done. What I'm saying, we're talking about changing a bylaw that we passed only a year ago. The report was very, very extensive. He explained, he answered all the questions, and we're talking about money. We're talking about $12,000, but really it's about $6,000 that we're talking about, because the rest was for training. So my answer is still no. I think we can talk about that for a long time, but the question was to be able, and we went around. So Conseiller Dan, I would ask, yeah, I'm looking at you. I will ask you for one last comment.
The only thing I'm a little puzzled here, the request on the floor is twofold. One is to make sure that we're adhering to our own bylaw, and we're not adhering to our bylaw. We're not adhering to the point where if he does any work whatsoever, that he should be reporting it and providing a copy to the CAO or to administration. That's the first point. The second point is Councillor Fisher is asking us to amend the bylaw, stating that if there's something that is between two councillors, that it become public. So I think you have to differentiate the two comments.
Okay.
You can't say not to adhere to a bylaw when we passed it. You just said it. We passed this bylaw, and in the bylaw, it states that it's supposed to flip back. The report is supposed to flip back to the CAO. So we're not adhering to our bylaw. That's number one. That's all.
Okay, so you're talking about the report when he's doing something and then like the report that we got, it should be sent to the CEO first. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Not first. I'm not
Okay,
saying first. I'm
so
saying-
you know, then we can go around and we can ask because we had talk about, most of us had talk about the public thing. So, and I think we understand that we don't want to do an amendment with that. So am I correct when I say that? But we went around because it was 4-4.
Madam Chair, can I clarify a point?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, council did approve a bylaw, but council also adopted a resolution to approve a contract with our IC. The contract that the IC stipulates exactly how the IC will be serving the municipality of West Nipissing. We voted on that contract. We approved that contract. I see Councillor Dan saying no. Mel, did we ever adopt a resolution to approve entering into an agreement with the Integrity Commissioner for the municipality of West Nipissing?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have two bylaws relating to Integrity Commissioner. We have a bylaw that establishes the Office of Integrity Commissioner and what those duties are, which is, I believe, the bylaw that Councillor Fisher is referring to. We then have a separate bylaw that appoints this particular individual as the IC for this term. So they're two different things.
Okay, so my recommendation is, you know what? Even though we adopted one bylaw, but we adopted another, which he complies according to my understanding, because when I backtracked to verify the terms of the agreement, the second one, he complies to that. So now, if I may, we're being asked if we want to change. My recommendation is I do not want to change.
Okay,
and do not have to change.
Okay, Madam Mayor. Okay, so you made your point. I'm going to go to another comment because we're getting, again, I think it's straightforward. I'm going to go back around after Councillor Dan, last one to talk, and I'm going to see if anybody had changed their mind because we had provided what we wanted, and we'll see if anybody had changed their mind because we're not going to spend the next hour because it's almost right now 9:36. So I think, Conseiller Dan, you got about 10 seconds and matter is gonna be close, one way or the other.
What bylaw supersedes what bylaw? I just want to know if the bylaw that we passed saying what we were supposed to do in regards to the Integrity Commissioner, which one supersedes the other? I don't think one needs, okay, Melanie.
I just, through you, Madam Chair, I was just going to suggest that I can review the two side by side, and if there is in fact contradiction between the two, perhaps bring back a report for council to decide what they want to do if in fact there is a contradiction between the two.
So at this point of time, the time the request was to amend and we went around the table and it's 4 against 4. So what's going to happen? Because we do that so well. So there were specific requests on the table. We discussed it, we talked about it, and we made our choice as individual, which we all have the right to do so. So I'm going to ask, not everybody, I want to know if one, doesn't matter which side, or yes or no, are changing their mind right now, and we're going forward with directive towards staff to change it or not to change it. So is anybody around this table have changed their mind? Yes or no?
Madam Chair?
Excuse me, Rolly. It's 9:37. We should pass a bylaw. We had a question on the table. We had a request and we dealt diligently with it, and people are made their decision. We cannot keep on going on like that. So I'm sorry. I had said that Councillor Dan.
The public is asking for transparency.
Excuse me.
The public is asking for transparency.
Excuse me, Councillor Rolly, if you stay another world, I would say what Jay said that I had the right to do. I'm going to ask you to disconnect because right now the discussion has been made. You're saying your point of view. I don't disagree. I don't agree. You have the right to your own opinion, and it's been done. anybody around this table have changed their mind? Because we all have a change to explain and even more. So who's changed their mind around the table? A show of hand, please. So Mel, you have the directive. It's stay put. So I'm going forward to the next one.
Councillor Lee, Madam Chair, can I get a mover and a seconder to extend the curfew, please?
Okay. Yes, sure. Somebody
Mover?
wants to move?
Dan?
I'll say it done. Who else?
Seconder?
Chris, will do it.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Councillor Fisher.
so who's anybody not in agreement with that?
Not in agreement for what?
To pursue after 9:30. Everybody's in agreement, sorry. Is everybody in agreement or any comment about that? Sorry, I got mixed up. I'm tired, so.
Well, I don't agree. If we can, why should we continue past 9:30 every time, every meeting? And that's when we get all riled up. Past 9:30, we don't get very many issues dealt with. This is a constant here. It's always past 9:30. We should have, either we have more meetings or we stop at 9:30. It's ridiculous. We're just gonna get mad at each other.
Conseiller Denis, you don't agree to go on
I don't
9:30?
agree to
Okay.
extend. No.
Anybody else wants to comment? Madame la mairesse.
You know what? I sort of agree with Conseiller Denis. It puts us in a predicament at every meeting. We have a bundle of things that I know that we're probably not going to be able to deal with up to 10:30 because everyone wants to participate and engage. Recommendation is that I don't support going beyond 9:30 no more.
Conseiller, okay.
Okay.
So you don't support going between 9:30. Conseiller Yvon, do you have a comment?
Well, in lieu of how I feel with respect to the medication I've been taking, it's got nothing to do with COVID.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I have a tendency of falling asleep fairly easy, so it's getting tiring to go past 9:30, and like Denise mentioned, we just get out of hand and we just argue amongst ourselves, and we just don't seem to get anywhere with it. I would prefer to maybe leave the meeting or not go past 10 o'clock anyway.
Okay, so but now the question is right now tonight, you want to go behind 9:30?
C'est ça la question.
Well, I don't want to, no.
Okay, so Conseiller Leo, because now I'm gonna go around the table, where is your stand?
Okay, you're heard, but if I speak, I'll speak for Rolly if you don't mind.
Okay, Conseiller Rolly, sorry, I don't see your name, I see another name, and if I don't look at my paper, I apologize, Councillor Rolly. You want to go past 9:30?
Actually, it's Councillor Fisher before me.
Well, you know what? Okay, so Councillor, so I think I know I made my decision on my choice too. So Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, I seconded the motion. I mean, we're doing the public's business.
Okay, so then I go to Councillor Rolly.
I agree with Chris.
Okay, Councillor Leo.
Yes, was a suggestion by Councillor Yvon to go to 10 o'clock. Is that the word?
No, he said I specifically rephrased it because we're talking about 9:30. So he said no.
Okay, I agree.
You agree to what? No, to not to go past 9:30?
No, to go to extend the meeting.
Okay, well, that's not a no, that's a yes then.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so, well, and you know what? And my reason being, right now, I'm very tired. That's not the case. Sitting down in a chair like that, kitchen table for 3 hours, that's enough for me. But on top of that, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure some of you will remember that, well, I'm saying what I'm saying, yes, like everybody did, Councillor Dan. So if you want to speak after, well, you're going like that. I'm sure you're not saying bye-bye to me right now. I'm not going.
No, but I didn't have a chance to make a comment.
You make your comment. So you have a good point. So make your comment.
Thank you. No, I think we should go beyond. And the only thing is I think that, we're blaming the time element. Perhaps, like I attend other meetings like this, And what we do is we don't go around table. If you want to have a discussion, you lift up your hand and then you talk. Maybe that's my recommendation would be, is that's the way we should do the next meeting. If you have a comment, you lift up your hand, and then like we would do if we were in the council chambers.
Okay, so Councillor Dan, what I'm going to be ask you at the beginning of the next meeting, you suggest that and we'll vote on that one. At this point of time, we're going to vote. And Jay, since you're not voting, can I go forward?
Well,
and go to Councillor Denis had spoken, so everybody have spoken.
So it looks like it's 4-4, so the meeting's not extending. So I just have one gentle request in asking you for your indulgence of about 3 minutes, because what I requested to go in closed session as an addendum is good news, but time sensitive a little bit in terms of something that's a real opportunity for this municipality. But I just want to get my marching orders so that I don't have to wait.
So Councillor,
just a rest. Can I get 3 minutes?
Jay, the thing is, I think what we need to do, because we had said, and I'm going to say it because this is my turn right now, we had said that if we don't have enough time, we will make another meeting. We have minutes that has not been approved since March. We have thing on the agenda from last week that with the last meeting we did not approve. So if we go on Tuesday, I don't think a big rush on that, because I mean, and we need, I think if it's a discussion or an update, that's not bad. But if it's a discussion about a decision, we're going to spend a lot of minutes. And right now it's 9:39 and we're following the agenda. And I think we need to follow the order of the agenda also. So I am going with that, and you can even put a meeting another time. You can put it Monday if you want to. So that's going to give us.
Monday's a holiday.
Pardon me?
Monday's a holiday.
So what about Thursday night?
Thursday.
Wow.
Madam Chair, if we're going to institute a special meeting, I would hope that we have dates that can be shared and that everybody can attend the meeting, and that it's not just all of the chair saying that there's a special meeting at a specific time with no flexibility for people to attend the meeting.
Okay, so Councillor Dan, we will address that there's something open. We will address that at the next meeting because that's part of the agenda.
Subject matter right now, Madam Chair.
Madam Mayor, I'm dealing with him. Okay, that's my job as the chair. So let me do my job. So Councillor Dan, we will deal with that at the next meeting, and I will comment on the meeting. We had a procedure, and there's 24 hours, and there's always more than 24 hours. So if we decide tonight, Thursday night, that's 48 hours, and there will always be some people sometimes that not available. So at this point of time, I think tonight, so what we need to decide, we Thursday, Monday, weekend, or next Tuesday? That's the two choice we have. So
to decide. That's up to you.
I know it's, pardon me?
That's the mayor's duty.
Well, right now we're in a group, so I think the objective.
There you go.
Okay, we're in a group. So there's an offer on the table for either Thursday or next Tuesday. And I think right now would be a show of hand to see what would be majority. And just to focus on what's left on the agenda. We voted on the issue pertaining to going beyond the curfew of 9:30. That's defeated. We're not going beyond 9:30. I would hope that we can get to some consensus, and if not, please convey your response to Mel and identify to Mel if Thursday or next Tuesday would be more suitable, and Mel can let us know what the outcome is.
Well, I think we need to do it if we want to give, that's only 24 hours if they wait till Thursday to say, and then they're going to say we don't have enough time. They might say that. So at this point of time, we can decide tonight. We need another meeting that's clear and a fast one. Is it Tuesday? Who is raising their hand for Tuesday?
They have to travel, so just
okay. Who's talking that's not part of this meeting?
With respect to the general management of the meeting, actually, the mayor should be chairing this part of the meeting when you're talking about that. You're
okay. There you go.
General government. So that's the first point. The second point I'll make as head of staff is, I would want you to be respectful of when you're calling these meetings that we're, because if they're not planned, some of the key staff may not be available. So the mayor's suggestion, which is what we've done for budget meetings in the past, is probably a good one. Let's just call it quits tonight. Let Melanie do a poll as to when people are available, and we'll move forward then. I will investigate because I have something that is fairly time sensitive, dealing with the vacant Weyerhaeuser property, which has been vacant for 20 years. So you probably want to deal with that sooner than later, so we don't lose the opportunity.
Okay. So if we can conclude by saying that there's a suggestion for Thursday, suggestion for next Tuesday or next Wednesday, send out a poll, send out an email to all members, and whichever meeting that we have the majority or the most people available, that'll be the day that we conduct the subsequent meeting, just to follow this agenda, to continue this agenda, nothing else.
Okay.
Does that sound fair? Okay,
Good night. Thank you.
so. No,
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the closing resolutions, please? Denise? Please. It is moved by Councillor Denise Senecal and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-60, being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 6th day of October 2020, shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any objections? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Lee Senecal and seconded by Councillor Denise Senecal. Be it resolved that the meeting of council held on October the 6th, 2020 be adjourned.
Any objections? Carried. Bonsoir, good evening.